spectacular morning here for hauling in. I'm past the halfway point to our hot tent camp. Some snowmobiles have come in since the last time we were here, which is actually great because it packs down a nice trail and it makes hauling the sled so much easier by a factor of at least 2 or 3. They've actually gone to a lot of work to establish this because there are even boughs along the edges to mark it. So it's nice to be able to follow this and doing some fishing this weekend, finally. So I'll be camped on this lake for the 3 days. It's got spectacular cliffs and terrain all around. You can see why I love it. However, the fishing isn't the best. So I'm not hoping to slay fish, as people like to say. I'm just hoping for 1 or 2 lake trout. That would be great for me. I'd be very happy. There are burbot in here as well, but that is probably not going to happen. In my experience on this lake in the winter, it's been a tough bite. So, do my best. Alright, first things first, stay warm. Now that I've stopped moving and I'm in the shade, I'm actually quite chilled. So I'll get my wool on, I'll try anyway, and then I'll do some firewood prep. There's no faster way to warm up than chopping and sawing wood. It's in the minus teens, but once you've been going and you stop, you get a real chill. Now the last time we were out, it was minus 25, and we didn't want to wait 2 hours for the stove to burn down so we could handle it and clean it out. It's not best to leave ash in the stove. I think over the long term that can actually really degrade it. But for a few days it's alright. So I'll get this pipe right out, clean it out first. It's probably all gummed up with creosote. You tell me. What do we see? Yeah. So I'll clean that out with some spruce boughs, dump the ash in the stove out, split firewood, eat, get water. There's a lot to do before I get to fishing. Let's see how we're looking inside first. We've got some snow, left everything up because I knew I'd be back before too long. And doing this alone is a ton of work, so it really helps that I was able to leave it up since we were last in with Aaron and Kessia. Oh yeah. It smells so good in here. It smells like these boughs and split wood. Still have a bit left from last time. Looking good. Knock some of this snow off. There's quite a bit more snow coming potentially. At least a bit and maybe a lot. Okay, we've got some wood left here from last time that's not processed, so I'll start with that. I'm gonna have to get quite a lot more, but along with what's already in the tent, that'll be plenty for tonight. Saw this up with the Agua Gear Boreal 24. You stubborn bugger. That'll do. Okay, got a healthy amount of firewood in here now. Just got to stack it around the fire. I put the stove a little off to this side so that the pipe can be angled out the jack this way. There's going to be a strong south wind coming tomorrow and the following day, blowing this way. If I have the pipe sticking to any degree that way, it's going to really stifle the draft and be smoky when I open the door, and the fire won't burn as well, so it's important to get the pipe angled the right way. Okay, chores are all done. Let's give you a look in here. Got firewood stacked all around. My cook kit, sleep system, dining ware, a little table made out of a box, and a seat from a bucket, my food bag, and just other gear. Should be real cozy. Whenever I'm going to a lake to do a serious amount of fishing, I really like to find the bathymetry. So here is a historical bathymetry map for Seeley Lake. This was surveyed in July 28th to 30th, 1987, so a few months before I was born. That's cool. Okay, first hole. What to use? Often, I'm going to start with a little lipless crankbait. It's good because it makes noise. It's got a rattle inside, so help attract fish. This is a veal vibrato, one of my favorite ice fishing lures. Love my paddle tail jigs. This is on a Northland flasher jig. But I'm going to start out with this veal vibrato because it's been my best performer on this lake in the winter, and it looks like a little shiner. Or a little silvery baitfish. Many different kinds of baitfish look like that. So it's a good imitator, and it as you jig it, it kind of creates vibrations as well, which fish can feel on their lateral lines. And then I've got kind of a middle of the line rod and reel combo here with braid, fluorocarbon leader, and then I like to have a snap on the end, just a little crankbait snap for switching lures easily. First drop. Let's see. Okay, and that's my jig falling down there. Ended up in about 35-40 feet of water, which is a good depth for lake trout. You don't have to go deep for lake trout in the winter. In fact, I'd probably rather be in about 40 feet, so this is a good start. We anglers fuss so much over our lure selection, but really location is 10 times more important. If you are where the fish are, you can fish with almost anything. Finding the right spot is way more important than picking the right lure. So I ended up here to start on this flat, this like nipple looking flat. It is adjacent to this deepest basin. It's just south of the cliffs. Didn't bring snowshoes because I'm mostly using the packed trail. I much prefer to travel without snowshoes if I can, but breaking trail to fish along these cliffs is it's a good workout. This will probably be hard to see, but I noticed a weak spot in my line where it was starting to fray. So I cut it, and I'm just tying a double uni knot to connect the braid to the braid. Make 2 sliding knots, and then they slide into each other. I should have wet that first. This is especially important in a situation like this where I'm expecting a tough bite. You really wouldn't want to lose the one bite you had because you got lazy and didn't want to retie. Look at that glass. Beautiful ice. Wow. Look at that. Just beautiful. Like a trophy. I'm gonna hang on to this. This will be my trophy if I get any fish. Oh, that's a doozy. Such an intricate pattern in there too. Stunning. Oh, I don't want to break it. It's too nice. Here's a good one. This one's kind of flat. See if I can skip it like a stone on water. Definitely not though. Oh, that worked. It's nice under here. That south wind that's supposed to blast me tomorrow starting to kick up along with some flurries. But it's nice and calm in here. Wow, I'm 3 feet away from the wall of the cliff and the depth is 71 feet. Water drop off. Got the underwater camera down there. And there's some debris. There's rock. And I think I'm just really close to the rock there. That can't be plant life, that's too deep. It wouldn't grow down there. But there's some debris. No signs of fish yet. Brought out a bunch of sticks from camp and the stick stove so I can boil up some water here. Thirsty. Okay, got my pot gripper, but my gloves are, the palms are goat leather, so that's fine. And my water is very frozen, what's left of it, so looking forward to this. No marks on the sonar at all today. So not a great start, but we've got 2 more days to earn that trophy. Beautiful flurries coming down. It's been really nice being under this kind of a cave, basically, overhanging shelf. Just getting to be out of the wind and snow, but watching it peacefully here. It's going to be dark pretty soon, so I guess I'll pack it in for the day. Little piece of fatwood. It's so much work doing this alone.
Yeah, I bet.
It's nice. It's been a nice day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you get any fishing in, or you just been...
Yeah, I fished for like 3 or 4 hours, got nothing.
I don't know if there's fish in Sealy Lake.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough lake. I've got a special treat for tonight. In here I've got Macallan 12-year. It's a Highland single malt. And it is probably the most expensive scotch or liquor of any kind I've ever had. It was a gift from Aaron's dad, Bill. Thank you so much, Bill. Incredibly generous. And this is the sherry oak cask, so it's deluxe. That is smooth. Oh my. It's 7 o'clock now and I am hungry. The wind's picking up and big clumps of snow are falling on the tent. We got cell phone signal, so I got the hockey game going. Life's pretty good. Wanted something quick, satisfying, and warm. So ramen noodles fit the bill tonight. It's hitting the spot. But I lost my signal, so no more hockey. It was about -10 overnight last night, so I just cold camped. With this sleep system, it's not worth waking up every hour and a half to stoke the fire and using all that firewood, which I then have to replace. It's just easier to sleep through it. Wind's picking up out there. It's gusting. It'll be a blustery day. Our little vole friend is back. If you saw a couple of episodes ago, we had a vole in the tent. He just came through the corner, just tunneled under the snow, and he was walking down my sleeping bag right along the side. And I was like, hi. And then he ran back, but he's a bold little fellow. Fire really simmered down there. But I've got the billy bellows. More like it. Bellybellows.com, 20 bucks if you want one. Back to my donuts. Okay, it's about 10 a.m. Wind is picking up and it's going to get substantially worse. So I'm going to find one spot to set up and I'm going to build like a little snow shelter around it to keep me out of the wind, or I'm going to freeze to death today. The only downside is that limits me to one spot, so I'm going to try and choose it wisely. I'm going to use the most significant point on this lake and then find 40 feet of water, and that's where I'm going to set up for most of the day. I brought in this shovel to help make this shelter. Good guess. It says 40 feet of water. However, I'm getting kind of like bottom-like returns at about 25. That's because I'm on an incline. So the beam shoots out, spreads out. Some of the beam is hitting 25, some's hitting deeper. So that's probably good. So I'm gonna build a big wall here to block off the wind. Maybe build like a little seat in there too. Get real comfortable. It's gonna be a long day out here and I can use it tomorrow as well. I've got a nice sheltered spot out of the wind now. There's just one thing left to do. The last thing is to mark off this mound. You could kill a snowmobiler if it's really snowy and they're zipping along. They might not even see this. They could hit it like a brick wall once it sinters up. Really important to mark it off. It's flooding. I was in a nice slush-free spot, and now that I've drilled this hole, it's flooding. Uh-oh. I worked up quite an appetite doing that. Just gonna head back to camp before I start fishing. Hopefully my fire's still going in the hot tun. Still smoke coming out of the chimney. That's nice to see. Someone's looking for his hole. I closed it up. Hey, buddy. Naturally, he just made a new tunnel. He just came in there, ran away. Hey! Get out of here. Finally back to business here. Just setting up a set line with a micro spoon and a preserved shiner. And I got this little rig to stand up the rod, and I'll be able to see it from my seat there. Whew. Okay, I'm finally all set up. It took half the day, and I'm just starting to fish. But at least I'm comfortable. Nothing on the sonar yet, but at least I'm out of the wind, and I've got this here for motivation. I know what I'm working for. Speaking of snowmobilers, I just woke up before they got here. I fell asleep in my chair. Still no marks on the sonar. I'm getting pretty chilled, so I'm gonna go stoke the stove and warm up. Still smoking. I got a kettle full of water to put on. Got some spruce needles and balsam fir. Steep that for about 10 minutes. A nice warm drink. It's 5 o'clock. Haven't marked anything yet. Taking the vibrato off, and I'm gonna put on this Kamuki Smartfish. Like I said yesterday, lure matters so much less than location. I can't change my location right now. If I go anywhere else, I'll be a complete icicle. Even here behind this wall, I'm just staying warm enough, so I'll change the variables that I can. And on that note, since it's 5 o'clock, cheers. Using this as a backrest now. It keeps me a lot warmer than when I was lying back on the snow. Oh, this is nice. This is a good setup. I'm really glad I have this wall. At least I'm pretty comfortable. It's now 6 o'clock and I'm shivering, so I'm gonna call it. It's gonna have to wait. There we go. Didn't burn firewood overnight, so I ended up with a lot extra, but I might be back someday, so I piled it up under those trees to keep it reasonably dry. And until then, it'll be a nice home for a mouse. Or a vole, actually. I know it's a vole. Not done with this yet. This is a spectacular lake to camp on. The scenery is stunning, but the ice fishing leaves a lot to be desired. This is my 6th or maybe even 7th time ice fishing this lake, and I have 2 lake trout to show for it. I heard back in the day, guys would come in here, they would limit out, come back, limit out, and it was easy. But you do that enough times, and this is what happens to the fishery. My friend Lee was out here last week. His group, I think they were a group of 5 or so, each had 2 lines in, I'm assuming, with minnows for 5 hours. So that's, let's say 5 people times 5 hours times 2 lines is 50 hours of fishing. So imagine one person fishing 1 line, 1 hole for 50 hours. And they got 1 laker, so it's, yeah. The fishery, I hope, can recover, but as of right now, it's not good. Just gonna go over my winter camping kit quickly. I've got a Polk with this harness, and the sled is a Pelican Trek 60. You can get it anywhere, but it works pretty well. Just fishing gear, auger, camera gear. Got the Tuk Alaskan 11 by 11 tent, and then this stovepipe leads to the Nyko Alaskans 12 by 12 by 24. The cook kit, aluminum kettle, pot, and stick stove, saw, little splitting block here for just making fine splits. My sleep system is this liner, Sea to Summit Reactor Extreme, Mech -20 down bag, Fuel XL winter light, a pillow. Some people don't bring a pillow, I always want one. And then just a closed cell foam mat, which is really important because not only does it insulate more, but it also protects my pad. Just even snow crystals or ice, if not sticks poking from beneath, they can really hinder your sleeping mat. For seating, we use a bucket and just like a foam pad on top of it. And this box for the stove makes a nice little table with a tea towel over top of it like a tablecloth. Some reading material, dining ware, candles, some chaga pieces. That's pretty much it. When I'm in here alone, this is how I like to set it up. Pretty comfortable. And when I'm picking a stave, I like to get one that has some little knobs on it because you can hang, it just gives you more things to hang off of. And then we've got this string to hang things as well, and then a vent at the top. So I've mentioned before that nesting pipes can be kind of hard to assemble and to make them fit inside of each other. I took the damper piece here, the bottom, and the adjustable elbow and straightened that out into one piece. And then the remaining 4 pipes, I'm going to nest the second smallest pipe inside the largest. Hope is these 2. And then the smallest inside the second smallest. Okay, so that was the biggest. So I want this one. I think. Yeah. Okay, so now I only have to nest twice and they're not super tight fitting. And they still fit perfectly, easily actually. Brilliant. That concern is really abated now. That was really simple. Whenever I have something I have to do repetitively, I think really hard about how I'm gonna do it. Doing something in a way that I don't like repetitively is just, I'm the type who is irked by that. So, good. Easy, there's always a solution, you know? And around the hinges on the leg, I'm gonna clean it extra well because I feel like that would be the most annoying place to get rust. Marking off this mound with the boughs may seem needless. You would think, how could you miss it? But believe me, it can happen. A nurse I was talking to one time told me the worst thing she ever saw in the ER was a snowmobiler who went into a chicken wire fence that they didn't see, like right through it. So yeah, you can, if they can miss a chicken wire fence, then they could definitely miss this white pile amongst all the other white, right? And that leads me to something else Aaron and I have been wanting to say, which is, I was in, I'll start off by saying I was in the hospital a few weeks ago just for an appointment for my wrist, and it was an unpleasant place to be right now for obvious reasons. And I just can't imagine what it's like to be a nurse right now, or a doctor, a frontline worker, any kind of healthcare professional who's interacting with potentially sick people, and being like that every day. It was not a good feeling. I can't imagine how worn out those people are. We just want to say thank you so much. Keep going, and we hope it's over soon. We both have nurses in our family. I've got 2 on my side. Erin's got 1 on hers. And we just want to really sincerely thank you for all your work during the last year. So I make maps for a living, so let's talk about maps for a second. A scale bar, so this piece here going from 0 to 0.5, is your most reliable source for a scale. It is always correct no matter how big or small the map is blown up. So this scale statement here, 25.3 centimeters equals 1 kilometer, which is a pretty weird scale. That is only accurate at the original scale that this map was produced at. So let's say this was made on an 11 by 17. If you cut the size of this map in half, that scale statement is no longer correct. If you double the size of the map or make any change to its dimensions, that scale statement is no longer accurate. The scale bar going from 0 to 0.5 is always correct. It's going to increase or decrease proportionally with the map size. So down here in the corner, I was looking at local bathymetry maps, and this is actually how I found this lake. I had no idea there was a trail here, but then I saw this map and it says trail to Wolf Camp Lake. Wolf Camp Lake is where I access this lake. So that's what led me in here. I checked it out one summer. You've got these stations, chemical stations, where they would have measured the clarity, the pH, the temperature going from top to the bottom. And I think one other metric. There's another one over here. I'm assuming, I always see these stations in the deep basins of the lake. So you've got one deep basin here maxing out at 42 meters, about 135, 140 feet. You've got another basin here that's 34 meters deep. So they seem to target the deep basins. And I think the reason for that is that they can get the most temperature ranges across various depths. You've got a north arrow, of course, and you can see here where it says 10 meters. That is actually a hump. Usually when you get these concentric circles, it's leading to deep, in the middle of the lake, it's leading to deeper spots. So you can see here along the shoreline, we've got 2 meters, 6. The contour interval is the name of that increment. So it's working all the way down to 42 meters down here. But this one is actually increasing. So that's a hump. That's going from 18 to 14 to 10. So that's a nice place to fish, potentially. You got some big flats here. So that whole area in the middle of the screen is not really changing much. You got a beaver dam on a stream and then a trail to the side of it. There's a BM, so that stands for bowel movement. That is where the surveyor defecated when they did the survey. No, it stands for a benchmark. So they left a little steel marker there with the elevation and the date, and they use those as long-term references for geographic purposes. Another stream coming in there, and even though these streams won't be pumping out much water, if any, right now, I find that fish can still relate to these spots in the winter. Here you've got a dotted stream, so that means it's likely seasonal. And that is about it. You can see there are steep drop-offs here on this point. There's a really steep drop over here by the cliffs south of that benchmark. These are all cliffs here in the middle of the screen. It's quite steep as well in that area. So a lot of features that we could potentially work with. There are no islands. There are no huge points. This is pretty much the most pronounced point, which is generally one of the first places I'll go to on a lake is a nice point. It's a decent flat over there, adjacent to the deep basin. So a lot of options. It's a tough call. Just relaxing in the tent for a bit before I get started. Get out there in the cold and fish. Reading the Nostagon. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced because I'm an ignorant white man. But it's the Journal of the Wilderness Canoe Association, which is an excellent organization to follow. And the journal has really nice write-ups from readers with color photos. It's a really nice read. They also run my CCR, my Canadian Canoe Routes online, which is an invaluable resource. If you've never been there, you should definitely check that website out if you're a paddler, especially in Canada. Spring is within sight. I couldn't be more excited. Couldn't be. Just look at these photos. Look at that one in particular. Poor canoe. Oh, I miss it so much. So our stove is 24 inches deep, which means I want to cut these roughly to length of 24 inches. A little less just so it's easy to fit them, but like 22 inches around there. If I cut it long like that, it's less sawing. You know, if I made 10-inch pieces, I'd have to saw through a lot more wood. So by cutting it to length, you minimize the amount of sawing you have to do. I'm holding the end of the log down with my foot to keep it stable. The less the log is moving, if I don't do that, the log's moving all around. The power I'm putting into the saw is being wasted moving the log. If the log's not moving at all, then all my energy is going into the saw. So there's way too much gear for one pulk. Even 2 pulks, it would be, of our size ones, it would be hard to get out. So I'm caching this, and then Aaron and I are going to come back for a day trip someday just to get some exercise, and we'll haul it out with both pulks then. The rest of it, I'll still be taking one load. And just in case anyone gets ideas, in the extremely unlikely event that someone comes here, it's tucking it away. And it's supposed to snow tonight, so this would look all natural except for that.